Hola chicos, vamos a continuar con Lección 2. Today's lesson is about boot verbs that have an E to IE change. As a reminder, boot verbs are stem changing verbs. What's a stem? A stem is all the part of the infinitive that doesn't involve the AR, ER, or IR. So for querer, you've got quer as your stem. For preferir, you've got prefer as your stem. For merendar, you have merend as your stem. All of these are going to have an E to IE stem change. Now you might wonder, for preferir and merendar, you have two E's in each of those stems. Which one's going to change? You're always going to change the one that's closest to the ending. We'll see that take place here in just a moment. So on your new page, I want you to write in querer as the verb in the first chart. You can pause the video if you need some time to do so. Notice that it ends in ER. So our first step is to add in the things that we know already. Add in your ER endings, O, S, E, hemos, eis, en. From there, you notice that it has this set of parentheses that tell you that there's a change in the stem, E to IE. So inside the boot, we need to change from E to IE, but let's draw that boot. Let's shade that boot first. So on your chart, I want you to shade all the pieces of the boot that we've talked about. Remember, you're going to include all the forms except for the nosotros and vosotros forms. It should look like that boot. Now, inside the boot, you're going to have the E change to IE. So you don't say quiero, you say quiero. You don't say quieres, you say quieres. Quiere. Outside the boot, we are going to say queremos, queréis, and back inside the boot, we're going to say quieren. You should remember this from a song that we had last year. No quiero ir contigo. No quiero ir contigo. Yo quiero ir de compras. ¿De compras? De compras. So inside the boot, your E is going to change to IE. I want you to pause the video and make sure that you have your stem change highlighted inside the boot. Next step, I want you to write preferir in the verb as your verb of the second chart on your page. Now notice these are going to be IR endings, so we're going to have O, S, E, imos, is, en. That's the next step. We're going to write in the endings, and we know how to do that. We know that our AR, ER, and IR endings are going to be the same as they match up with our boot verbs. Our next step is to notice that there's a stem change. We can see those parentheses and the type of change that's supposed to take place. So that means we need to draw out our boot. And you know the shape that it's supposed to take is going to leave out the nosotros and vosotros form. And now, when we conjugate, we're going to change the E that is closest to the ending. So we're going to say prefiero, prefieres, prefiere. Outside the boot, it's going to change back to prefer. Preferimos, preferís. Back inside the boot, prefieren. I want you to pause the video, go and highlight the stem change that takes place. For the verb merendar, notice that there are, this ends in AR. So add in your AR endings. Okay, so this is verb 3 on your page. Add in your AR endings. Always start out with what you know first, and we know our endings. Now we notice that there is a stem change of some kind. This is an E to IE. So we're going to draw in that boot. Okay, now inside the boot, we're going to change that second E. That's the one that's closest to the ending. We're going to change it to meriendo, meriendas, merienda. Outside the boot, merendamos, merendáis, ellos meriendan. So these are the verbs that we are going to work with today. Now you have some more boot verbs that you're going to work with. How do you know which ones are boot verbs? Well, for today's activity, it's all the verbs that you see on your page. But querer, preferir, merendar, recomendar, empezar, pensar, cerrar, those are some common ones. You're going to, for now, be given the information in parentheses, but soon you'll be requested to recognize which ones are considered as boot verbs. So, after you finish out this video, go to Paso Dos. You're going to follow the steps that are written on your page. First, start out with what you know, write in those endings in the chart. Then draw on your boot. Make sure to color it. Make sure that it's indicated somehow so you don't have anything that you forget inside the boot. Then write it in the stem for each of the verbs in their charts. And then highlight the stem change that takes place in each verb. All right, and mañana vamos a continuar con lección